Hey guys, this is Comic Uno and Comic Frontline, and today I'm doing Comic Uno episode 116. And this is a show where I review all the comics I read this week in one show, and there are a ton of comics this week. One of my biggest weeks in a really long time. Last week I had 22. Also guys, sorry I didn't have an episode last week, but because of New York Comic Con, I did not have enough time to read all the books on, well, I read it on time, but it ended up being like Monday when I finished. So I was like, alright, I'm going to skip Comic Uno episode. But if you have any questions from last week's comics, you could let me know in the comments and I'll give you my opinion on them. But yeah, let's start this episode. So we go worst pick of the week to best pick of the week. Number 23 is Civil War, issue 5. I would have dropped this book a while ago, but I was almost done. So I was just like, alright, let's see where it goes. But with this issue, Tony and Captain America, they fight to the end. They kind of kill each other. And they find out that this whole war was because of Skrulls, and that the Skrulls were not defining them, but tricking them. And by the end, again, Captain America and Iron Man die. And they try to, you know, make up for the world again. You get to see Peter's like, oh, you know, I went on the iron side. Oh, actually, I think he went on the blue side. My wife was on the, you know, the iron side, and now we're like trying to make up and try to live a good life. And that's kind of the issue throughout. The ending was kind of blah. It was like, kind of wish it was just like him and Mary Jane, but it wasn't. It was just him talking to a random person about Mary Jane. And I was just like, oh, that's like one of the things I actually liked about this series. Also, the artwork's kind of dark. I didn't love the art. Like, the fighting's pretty good, but I didn't love the tone and, again, the shade of the artwork. So yeah, overall I'm going to give Civil War issue 5 2 stars. It's a series I don't think is really worth reading, but I trudged through it and read all 5 issues. Alright, moving on to number 22, which is a all different Marvel book, which is The New Avengers issue 1. Didn't really like this book that much. Why didn't I like it? First of all, the artwork is very exaggerated. Hopefully I can show you a page of this. Just very exaggerated artwork. Very anime-esque type artwork. And the story was just kind of boring. These characters that usually have chemistry, I mean, Wiccan and Hulking, they're going out together and they didn't really have chemistry in this issue. It just didn't really feel like they were working as a team. It just kind of felt like they were blabbing around to get the story across. Or like, oh, well, we have to fight the diamonds. But it didn't really feel like they were a team talking about it. They were just like individual heads talking about, oh, we gotta defeat these people with diamond heads. So yeah, overall the story was kind of on the boring side, and again, the artwork was definitely not my style, so this was very forgettable, very generic, and I'll give New Avengers issue 1 2 stars. Alright, so now we are moving on to number 21, and that is Savior, issue 7. Savior is actually a book I loved the first issue. It's my pick of the week. I was excited about it. But the book has not lived up to the first issue, because we're finally getting into the part where our John Doe, he's showing his powers or his abilities a bit more, but you still really don't know who he is and what he is, and there's only one issue left. So I'm like, where is this series going? At first there was a lot of cool undertones of media and, you know, faith. And at this point, it just feels very cluttered, and you're like, I don't know what point they're trying to come across now. Because the first issue was so good at setting the story of like, oh, there's this plane crash, there's this John Doe character, and he doesn't really know who he is, but he's like this godlike character. And then you have the reporter, and she had some interesting things to say in that first issue. But you haven't really even seen the reporter in this issue. You don't really know who your main character is besides just John Doe character. I think the supporting characters are really flaky in this series. The only positive thing I could say about it is the artwork. I mean, the artwork is beautiful. Really, really beautiful artwork. But the story is just not living up to, again, that first issue. So Savior issue 7 gets 2 stars. I've been disappointed with this series overall, but I will pick up the last issue to obviously see where it goes. Right, so now we are moving on to number 20, which is Earth 2 Society, issue 5. I'm just picking this up, honestly, for Lois. I really just want to see where Lois goes, and my favorite issue of Earth 2 Society so far is the focus issue on Lois. And this issue focuses more on Jimmy and Jay. Jay just trying to figure out his life. He's a young adult who doesn't want to live with his mom anymore, but he's also a hero. He doesn't really know who to save, and when to say no to people. And that's proven here. But then he says no to his best friend Hawkgirl, which is my favorite part of this issue, because he says, Hawkgirl's my best friend. I love that moment. It's like, yay, it's cool to see their friendship. Because they've been working together for such a long time, too. Hopefully they can flesh out that friendship even more. But yeah, so we get to see that in the end of the issue, Jimmy Olsen becomes like this godlike person, which he's been leading up to, and power might be going to his head, and that's what's going on. And I didn't love this issue. Again, there is a story here. The artwork is very anime-esque. I keep saying that, esque. Anime-esque. I don't know why I say ish. Anime-esque. And then also, I think the backgrounds could be a lot better. There's not a lot of background. I still don't know what type of world they live in, because the background's not really that detailed. But yeah, I just wasn't really into this issue, and I don't think it's a must-read by any means. And it progressed the story, but there wasn't a lot of interesting plots here. So, Earth 2 Society issue 5 gets 2.5 stars. That's number 20. Moving on to number 19, which is Marvel Zombies, issue 4, another Secret Wars book, which started out okay, and just like one of those books I'm like, alright, I'm gonna continue reading it. But actually I think it ended up in a better place than it started. I remember I was so bored with this book, but then it concentrated more on this father-daughter relationship, which is really messed up, and explores that more. And this issue is really looking into Elsa's her childhood, and that she didn't have one, and her messed up family. But at the same time, like, her being this hero and knowing what a hero means. Like, she was always corrupted to say, well, hero means sacrifice and to hurt and to feel pain, and she realizes, nah, I don't think that's what a hero is. So I like those portions of it, but my biggest problem with Marvel Zombies is the world they live in is really not interesting. And the art is really gritty, and I understand why it's gritty, because like it's zombies, but I just didn't love it. So I don't think the father-daughter relationship stuff was enough to say, hey, pick up Marvel Zombies. I don't think there was enough meat in the story, but I will say the father-daughter stuff was interesting. But not interesting enough. So Marvel Zombies issue 4 gets 2.5 stars. That's number 19. Moving on to number 18, which is Mirror's Edge, issue 2. This is like the volume 2 of Mirror's Edge. And I really liked issue 1. I am a fan of the Mirror's Edge video game franchise. I'm not a big gamer anymore, but when I was in high school I was, and this is when the game came out. So I played Mirror's Edge a lot. I enjoyed it, and I'll definitely be getting the second one. But yeah, I remember the first Mirror's Edge comic that came out, I didn't really love, like, not the first issue, but the first volume, like, the first ever Mirror's Edge comic. I didn't like that much. I was like, it's not worth reading, I'll just play the video game. But I think this story is really interesting, where we get to learn more about Fate's mother, or at least try to learn more about her. I really like the action in this book. I really like that it looks like the video game, like the parkour stuff. But I will say this issue is a bit on the slower side, plot-wise, than issue 1 was. Because issue 1 is very much about introducing this world. Issue 2 is about, like, oh, here's all these different missions you have to do. What type of character is Faith? But it was a bit on the slower side. And when she's not running, when she doesn't have the action, I think the artwork could be a bit better. I don't have the book with me. But there's a lot of, like, shading that I don't think was necessary, but the actual action looks really good. So Mirror's Edge issue 2 for me gets 3 stars. So now we're moving on to number 17, which this book is a lot higher than usual. Justice League United, issue 14. So I'm finishing it up. I actually was going to drop the series, but it's ending really soon, so I'm just like, alright, I'll just finish up the series. And I thought this issue was a lot better. It's far from perfect by any means, and I don't know if it's worth picking up, but I thought it was better than previous issues. Artwork is pretty solid, and it's Batgirl teaming up with Vandal Savage for some reason. I'm really confused why that's happening. Then Stargirl kind of teaming up with this guy who's very sexist. It seems like it's like, oh, I don't know why a woman's on the field, and she doesn't say anything about it, but very sexist. But I do like this issue a bit more because there's a bit more of a plot. Previous issues, it was really them just running around and doing nothing. At least here there's more of a plot, more character focused, which has been a complaint. So I think it's an improvement of what we've been seeing, but far from perfect. So Justice League United gets 3 stars. Moving on to number 16, which is a new Vertigo book, and I'm trying out a lot of the issue 1s because they all look really interesting. But the Twilight Children, issue 1. Survivors Club that came out last week, I didn't get to talk about because I didn't do Comic Uno episode. And I thought that was a very solid book. It ended up in my top 5 last week. But Twilight Children was a bit more of a disappointment, and which is surprising because, the good thing about this book is Darwin Cook's artwork. It's beautiful, it works, it's very cartoony, but I love it, and it's really good artwork. So that's definitely what made this issue a little bit higher. But the story itself, you know, there's this big mystery of this white ball. You know, there's this white glowing ball, and no one knows what it is. And then these children end up touching it and end up going blind. But then there's these other characters, like this woman cheating on her husband, this drunk guy, and I don't really know how they're connected, but they're thrown in there. And then, again, the children go blind. So there's an interesting mystery, but I don't know if the mystery is interesting enough for me to pick up the next issue. Like, it wasn't one of those things, like, I can't wait to read more. It's just like, oh, I like the artwork, but kind of forgettable on in the long run. So Twilight Children issue 1 gets 3.5 stars. Again, the artwork really boosts this up. I might try issue 2 if it's not a big week, but I think the mystery could have been a bit better. Alright, so now we're moving on to number 15, which is Batman issue 45. A bit lower than what this book usually is, but I thought the pacing could have been a little bit better in this issue. But what happens in this issue, you get to finally see Jim Gordon a bit more. You get half the issues about Bruce, you know, him doing the same thing. It's like, oh, I'm different, you know? I don't know why I was, like, so fearful back then, or you know, so closed off. And now I'm not, you know? So you get to see more of that. And then the big progression that happens here is that the police station doesn't want Jim Gordon to be Batman anymore. And I think Jim's going to want to prove himself. It's like, yeah, I can be Batman, you know? You get to see a little bit more of Bloom. Not a lot of progression with him, but you see a little bit more of him. And I guess that's the complaint here, is that I want to know more about this Bloom character. They had so many chances to expand on, but, like, he's haunting, yes, but he keeps doing the same thing every issue. So he's becoming less of a threat. So yeah, I hope we get to learn a little bit more about him, make him a bit more interesting. But yeah, I thought this was a slower issue. Like, there's stuff that's progressed, but it's just slower. And so that's why I give Batman issue 45 3.5 stars. Alright, so we are moving on to number 14, which I've been saying wrong in all my in-depth reviews. And I wrote it wrong on the paper, but it's I Hate Fairyland, issue 1, not Fairy Tales. Should be Fairy Tales, but Fairyland. This is a new Scotty Young book, and it's fun. It's a lot of fun. I don't know how long this is gonna last on my pull list, because usually these fun books, like, there's never room on my pull list for it, because the story doesn't progress that much, but like, it's fun to read every once in a while. But, you know, even though this book looks very cartoony and, like, kid-friendly, it's not. It's not kid-friendly at all. But that's what makes this book so interesting, because it's about this little girl who gets trapped in this fairyland world. And it's so weird to say fairyland, because I think about, like, Fairy Odd Parents and Fairyland there. Anyways, sidetrack. But anyways, so this girl's, she goes into this fairyland world, and in fairyland, their time passes a little bit differently than our time. So she's been there for a few days, but internally, she's been there for, like, years, and she's become really bad. She kills people, she wants money, she's greedy, and she's just become a really bad person. So now Fairyland's out to get her, and that's what the book's about. It's really fun, you know, it's a cute book, but in, like, so many wrong ways that it's cute, because again, this little girl's killing people, but I love the artwork. I think that was really well done, but again, I don't know how long this book will last on my pull list. Like, it's fun, it's original, but I don't know where the story can go to make me really attached to the book, so that's what I'm worried about. But yeah, I Hate Fairyland will get 3.5 stars. I'm going to probably pick up issue 2 to see where it goes. Moving on to number 13, which is Catwoman, issue 45, which has been a series that has improved a lot, at least from the previous series, and it's actually on my pull list now because Stephanie Brown. Well, with this issue, we deal a little bit more with the second Catwoman, because in the last issue, her father passed away. She kind of witnessed it, and she couldn't really do anything about it. So now she's being the head of this, you know, her mob family, and she can't be Catwoman anymore. And you see that she's becoming a bit more vicious, and Selina's trying to not make her vicious and say, hey, you should be Catwoman again. Don't do this. You don't want to do this to yourself. And even Stephanie is really shocked by her too, because this, you know, the newer Catwoman has been training Stephanie. And she's like, oh, you know, why did you do all that? And she said, you know, I had to. So you're seeing this new Catwoman become more grim. So yeah, this was a pretty okay issue. I'm not totally invested in the new Catwoman, but I thought they progressed the story really well, and you definitely get inside her head a bit more. Really good artwork, too, that fits the story. So, yeah, pretty good issue if you like Catwoman, if you've been following it. So, issue 45 gets 3.5 stars. Alright, let's move on to number 12, which is higher than usual. Star Wars Shattered Empire. I really enjoyed this issue, because, well, Princess Leia, which is awesome, just that she's in this issue. You know, I'm a big fan of hers. So with this issue, we get to follow Princess Leia, one of the queens from, you know, Princess Leia's mother's home planet, which hopefully I get the name of. Naboo. So we get to see that they're all on these spaceships trying to, you know, because even though the war's over, the war's still continuing, like this end of this war is continuing, so they have to defeat these ships. And at first you don't think they're going to live, and they end up living. But, you know, the cool things about it is kind of the play that they do on the first prequels, you know, the first 3 movies. Technically the last 3 movies, and I just watched the prequels for Media Madness. Right now I'm up to episode 5 of Star Wars, so we're gonna do that very soon. So I've been catching up on Star Wars as we get closer to the next movie, which I'm very excited for. So I'm becoming more of a casual Star Wars fan. But what I liked about this issue is, like, even though I hated the prequels, I thought they played with the prequels really nicely here. The major part in this issue that I enjoyed was this Princess Leia moment where she gets to see the Phantom Menace because of the Force, and she, you know, she's walking, and this is where the big battle was taking place, and there was a battle in this area in the movie, and then Princess Leia is about to walk in, and she's like, do you feel that? And they're like, what do you mean you feel that? It's like, it feels cold. And it's like, don't worry about it. It's just a windshield. And it's like, yeah, you're right. But you know, as the fan, you're like, oh, cool. She kind of used the Force there, and she could feel the Phantom Menace, you know? So I thought that was Darth Maul. So I thought that was a really, really cool moment. It's just like showing that Princess Leia is kind of getting stronger to the Force, which it's a cool nod, because I'm hoping they show that more in the movie, that she uses the Force more. But we'll have to see. And also something I really liked about this book is the artwork. It's really well done, especially the coloring. I think it fits really well for this book. Really great action, which I liked. So here's a good example of that. Good action. So yeah, I really enjoyed this issue. Even though it's like the story itself is just more fighting, and I guess that's why I didn't really make 4 stars, but there's still some really interesting character moments that I enjoyed. So Star Wars Shattered Empire gets 3.5 stars, and I'm very excited to read the last issue of Shattered Empire to see where it goes. Alright, so next issue is number 11, and that is Batman Superman, issue 25, a big improvement from the last arc. Last arc was not good. There was no direction, and I did not like it. But here we're continuing kind of this rivalry between Superman, Jim Gordon. And Superman goes against Vandal Savage in this issue, and he can't, handle himself. And Batgirl saves Superman, and Superman's like, no, I have to do this on my own. That's what Batman would do. Batgirl laughs in his face, kind of, and says, no, he didn't. He never did it alone. He always had us. And so in the end, they try to figure out a strategy how to defeat Vandal Savage. And they're like, well, we still don't know what to do. And Superman wants to leap into action because he never thinks. He just leaps because he always had that power. And Batgirl's like, just wait a moment. Let's look at the scenario. Let's see what's going on. And then again, Superman's ready to jump in, and they realize, all right, well, we can't fight right now. It's like, Superman's like, what do we do? And Batgirl's like I said, Batman never did this alone, and we won't either. So we get to see Red Hood and Grayson join the fight. So I really enjoyed this issue because finally in Batman and Superman, and something I've been waiting for 25 issues, is finally inviting the Bat family into this book. What I loved about Batman and Superman, or Superman Batman, before the New 52, it wasn't always Superman Batman teaming up. It was Supergirl and Damian teaming up. It was, Dick Grayson and whoever, Superboy. So it's different people teaming up from the Bat family and Superman family. But here it's always Batman and Superman. And now finally we're bringing into the Bat family, which is fun because we get to see Jason Todd, Grayson, and Batgirl, team up with Superman, who's not as strong. So, yeah, overall, I think the start of it was a little slow. I don't know, Vandal Savage, how he connects to it all. But the artwork was a big improvement. I really enjoyed the art, the detail of that. And I love Batgirls. It was cool, that she's like showing the ropes of Superman. It's like how to be a better Batman to Superman, who doesn't have abilities. So like the last 3/4 of the book was really good. And I think the next issue is going to be even better. So I'm going to give Batman Superman issue 25 3.5 stars, but it was very close to 4. Alright, so next is number 10, which is A-Force issue 5. Now this I think is higher than what this usually is. I wasn't a big fan of A-Force. Even though I was really excited for A-Force issue 1, I never really liked the world of A-Force because they never really explained it. But now here, this was my favorite, I guess, Secret Wars miniseries for the week. I don't think there was any other ones I had. Because we get to see, this whole girl team up to fight. I love that. And there's some people that we hadn't seen in the book, like, Carolina, Lucy Sky and Diamonds, Spider-Gwen we get to see a little bit more, Molly, which is fun. And my favorite scene here had to go to the Spider-Gwen scene where Mary Jane is about to be eaten and then Spider-Gwen saves the day. It's like, oh, are you okay? It's like, oh, my hero. So it plays on the Spider-Man iconic scene instead Spider-Gwen saves her. So I really enjoyed that scene. So yeah, I thought this was a lot of fun. I thought it wrapped up really well with the new Singularity, her name is, because it's a good continuation of like, alright, this is gonna continue after Secret Wars. So, and the artwork was beautiful, really liked the fighting, love the battle here. But yeah, so this is a really solid issue. It's probably the best of A-Force I've read, and if you're having, want a fun ending to Secret Wars, I thought A-Force did a really good job. So that is number 10, and that gets 4 stars. Moving on to number 9, which is Starfire, issue 5. Now this is a bit of a weaker issue for Starfire. Usually Starfire is in my top 5, but that's, not saying a lot because Starfire is, an awesome series. So a weaker issue for Starfire is still a pretty awesome issue. But here we get to see a couple of stories where we get to see this cancer hero, I want to say, because he can cure cancer, but he gets cancer because of it. So Starfire sees inside his mind, is like, oh, who are you? Like, what's going on? But at the same time, she's trying to look for a job. She gets a job at an aquarium, which is hilarious how she tries to get that job. And in the end of the issue, she meets up with that guy again, and Soul has been stabbed by somebody. So that's the issue. But yeah, it was a lot of fun. Because I love the job interview stuff. I love that. But I guess the things that I didn't like about this issue is how it connected. I usually like the chapters of Starfire. I think it usually connects well. But the flow I felt was a little off for this issue because there's so much story going on. And I don't know how to feel about this new character and how he's going to connect to people or how he's going to connect with this series. But overall, it's still a very solid issue and it's a really fun issue. If you're not picking up Starfire, you really should. So Starfire issue 5 gets a solid 4 stars. Alright, so we are moving on to number 8, which is Batman and Robin Eternal, issue 2. This is definitely a little higher than it was last week. Not in the line, but it was just a higher grade. So we get to see a little bit more of the Bat family stuff. Harper Rose attacked by this guy, and Cassandra Cain saves the day, and then Dick Grayson sees all this, and he's like, oh, well, I gotta go into Harper Rose's apartment now. I don't know who this girl is, but I'm gonna find out, because she's been on the list. And now Stephanie's also there, because, I mean, she's her, you know, Harper's roommate, and Stephanie's not on the list, but wants to help, and Grayson says yes to. And of course Stephanie's so connected to this world because you got Tim Drake that joins the effort and Jason Todd. And then if you know pre-New 52 Stephanie Brown, she's very connected to Cassandra. That's her best friend and they've helped each other in a lot of ways. And also Stephanie Brown was a Robin, so she's very connected and very deserving to be in this series. But yeah, this was a good issue because you get to see more of the Bat family, which I enjoy, and I love seeing more Stephanie here. She was a lot of fun, and how she interacts to Grayson. She's like, oh my god, you're the sexy Batman. I love that. The artwork's a bit, a bit rushed like the first issue, but still really, good artwork, especially for a weekly series. Good detail. Especially loved, right here, this scene with Cassandra Cain where she sees every point where she has to hit, so she's a very calculated fighter, which we know Cassandra's a very talented fighter. And I like that they played on more of the mute side of her here. She didn't talk. That was actually a negative in the first issue for me, because even though she said one word, it didn't play that she was mute. So I'm glad that they're doing that here, because that's very important to her character. But yeah, I thought this was a very solid issue, and I'm excited to read more Batman and Robin Eternal. So issue 2 gets 4 stars. Now we're up to number 7. Number 7 is Grimm Fairy Tales, issue 115. Now this book has been so good, especially in this season 2. I've been really enjoying the team's chemistry. And here we learn a little bit more about Lance and why he's connected to Excalibur, what that means. And then also more about Ali and Haley's relationship and how maybe now there's a chance to bring back Haley, which makes me really excited because I've been loving the relationship between Ali and Haley, because they're the two characters that probably never be friends, but because of circumstances they end up falling in love. So I love that story. But yeah, and also it's fun to see like the field trip. It's good artwork. So yeah, if you're looking for more chemistry stuff, you're looking for more of the team stuff, you definitely get it here, and you finally learn more about Lance. So solid 4 stars. And I can't wait to see where Grimm Fairy Tales go. And I really love that cliffhanger with Haley. I definitely want to see her in the series again, and not just as a ghost. And again, to explore more of her and Ali's relationship, and see if she'll still be in a relationship with Ali. Maybe she only loves him because that was the only person she could talk to. So I'm excited to see where that relationship goes. So number 6 is actually another Pat Chan book, which is Robyn Hood, issue 15. And I think this is really one of the better issues of Robyn Hood that I've read in a while, because finally we get to see Marion and Robin team up. They've been kind of separated for a while in the series, like Marion's doing her own thing, Robin doing her own thing, but here we get to see a fun adventure of them teaming up, where they have a case where where their favorite band, or one of their members, the singer, she's possessed. So Robin and Marion have to figure out, like, how do we, first of all get in and try to help her, and who the hell is possessing her. And by the end, Robin and Marion are able to save the day, and they're able to hang out with their favorite band, which was cool. And also, a big subplot going on with Robin is that, she's still going to therapy and she might have to take medication. And she's deciding, well, what do I do? Like, I don't want to feel crazy, So I think that's a really intense story that I'm really excited to see where it goes. So yeah, this is just a fun issue, and I hope they do more of this with Robyn Hood. You know, progress the plot, progress the characters, but at the same time have Marion and Robyn team up with each other again, because that was fun, and it was much needed for this series. So Robyn Hood, issue 15, gets 4 stars, and that's number 6. Moving on to number 5, which is Superman, Lois and Clark, issue 1. I don't know why I couldn't think it was number 1. This was so good. I really enjoyed this book because it's classic Superman. Even in the artwork, it feels so classic, this book. I just want to show you an awesome page, like right here. It's just such classic Superman. But what's interesting, the twist of this book is that they live in the New 52. They live in this world where Lois Lane can't be Lois Lane because there's already a Lois Lane. Clark can't be Superman because there's already a Superman, so they have to hide themselves, and they, you know, their last name's White, like Perry White, and they have a son, and the son's kind of getting suspicious of them. It's like, what are they hiding, you know? So yeah, the story is really interesting because they're living in this world, but they're completely different heroes, or, you know, different characters, because they believe in faith, they believe in hope, and this world is, you know, about paranoia, and we know what the New 52 is all about. So what I liked about this book is that it pokes fun of the New 52. You know, saying, oh, it's weird to see Cyborg on the Justice League. Or, you know, again, the paranoia thing. They're the one who mentions that. And then you see the love between Lois and Clark and you know, them growing their family. It's a different view of Superman. So yeah, Superman, Lois and Clark issue 1 was a really solid read, and I can't wait to read more. So I gave that 4 stars. And that was number 5. Moving on to number 4, which is Guardians of the Galaxy, issue 1. This is a really fun issue, and, you know, Kitty Pryde has gone through a lot of different status quos over the year, and, you know, every single one that's announced, I'm like, oh, I'm going to be angry at this one, or I don't know if I'm going to like it, and then I end up really liking it. Like, her getting cosmic powers has been really cool. Her and Star-Lord have been one of the best relationships of this year. And then now her being Star Lady / Star-Lord. It's been a lot of fun, at least from this first issue. And here it really is just setting up stuff, where they've been at, you know, Kitty being Star-Lord, Ben joining the team. The chemistry between everybody is really, really strong. They're all joking around with each other, can have drinks with each other, and then they, you know, they have the opportunity where they have to go to Peter, and Peter is now the king of a planet, and he doesn't really like his job, but he has to do it, and we don't really know why they separated. And it seems like there's tension. Hopefully we'll learn more about that. And then there's this big ending that Gamora just goes down and shoots down from the sky and lands on right next to them, and it seems like they're in trouble. So, great cliffhanger. So, a very solid beginning. And then also there's a really cool scene where Kitty's just phasing through stuff. So it's very Kitty, and she does it in a dancing style. So if you don't know, in her first appearance ever, she got her powers after she went to dance school, and she was very much into dancing. So it's kind of cool that they added that element, and also the element that she could go through technology. I thought was very cool. My only complaint of the scene is that I kind of want to see more of her phasing. You can't really see her, like even here, you don't really see her body. Like she's the one who phased through that, but you don't really even see her in the end here. So kind of wish there was a different angle, or, you know, kind of more of a zoomed in angle of her phasing through stuff. But yeah, that was my only real complaint from that scene, because it was really cool. But yeah, you know, this book was a really solid beginning. Like I said, I really like the chemistry. I like Kitty as Star-Lord. I think it's a lot of fun. And also the tension between her and Peter is like, oh yeah, you know, we're still about to get married, but we're not, well, they are together, but are they? Like, what's going on? So there's definitely some tension there, and I'm excited to see them explore that. And finally, Guardians of the Galaxy has a direction. That's been my big complaint from the last volume. Right before Black Vortex, it was me jumping on and off Guardians of the Galaxy, because there was never a full direction of the book. And then after Black Vortex, it got a lot better, and it wasn't just because Kitty was in the book. It just finally found a direction, and I feel the same way with this new volume. It just feels refreshed and exciting again. So Guardians of the Galaxy issue 1 is number 3, and I give that 4 stars. I'm sorry, it was number 4. We're up to number 3. Number 3 is Spider-Gwen, issue 1. Yeah, this was another really solid book. What we get to see here is that Gwen's taken a little break from being Spider-Gwen for like a month, and she puts back on the costume really because she's just late for work. And she calls up her dad and is like, yeah, I'm late for work, that's why I'm in costume. Just saying. Not really Spider-Woman right now. So that was a lot of fun. And Captain Stacy has his own drama with the police force wanting Spider-Woman and him saying, no, Spider-Woman's not a threat. Like, don't do this. So he has his own drama there to protect his own daughter. And then Gwen finds herself going back into the costume because the lizard's back, and she's like, well, that doesn't make sense because Peter was the lizard. So that also gives us the opportunity to see her past when Peter was the lizard. Now, actually, my complaint with this issue is that I want to see more of her past. You know, there's definitely only glimpses of it. Like, I really want to get into the mind frame of who Gwen was at that time, especially when she just got her powers. I just want to see an origin story. I'm a sucker for it, so I want to really see that. But there's only really flashes because they're telling the present story, which is really interesting with the lizard. And again, the artwork is beautiful, so I love that story. But I really want to see more of her past at the same time. But I really like the new status quo of Gwen and how she goes back into the costume, because that's all Spider heroes go through. It's just like, I'm out of the costume, I'm retired, oh no, responsibility, I guess I have to go back in the costume. And there's just a lot of cool interwoven stories, like with Captain Stacy and her story. So a really good beginning, and hopefully we'll get to see more glimpses of her past in issue 2. So Spider-Gwen issue 1 is number 3, and that gets 4 stars. So we are moving on to number 2. No, number 2 is actually a book that just really surprised me because I didn't expect anything from it. Like, I kind of just randomly picked it up. And that is an Image book, Switch issue 1, which is actually based on a webcomic. And again, I didn't know anything about this book, and it's based on the Witchblade universe, which I haven't gotten into, but I know a lot of people have told me to get into it. And one of these days I'm going to. But yeah, so it's based on the Witchblade universe, so it's just kind of this Elseworld story, but it's also based on the Darkness universe. But with this issue, you get to see this kind of geeky girl. She loves aliens. She has all these alien T-shirts. She has a friend in school, but she's not the most popular person. And then she sees from the corner of her eye, like one of her friends she grew up with, who she doesn't really connect to anymore. And she's like, well, I don't really know why he didn't because he moved. I don't really know why we just kind of grew apart, and he didn't want to contact me, and he didn't really want to be around me. So I don't want to be around him, and now he goes to school with her. And we find out in this issue that he has a lot more drama. He's connected to the Darkness, and his girlfriend, who looks completely normal, is like this ninja person from the Darkness, and I don't even think is his girlfriend. I think it's just that she's his bodyguard? Yeah, that makes sense. But in the end of this issue, we get to see, our main character has never been heroic, just kind of always laid back. And then her brother is outside, and she sees that he's about to get, not run over by a car, but a car is about to be thrown at him. So she saves the day there, and she's about to die, and then she sees the Witchblade, and it just goes onto her arm, and she's now the new owner of the Witchblade. But what I loved about this book was the monologue was so good of, like, getting into this main character's head. Like, you really got into the world. Like, I've never read Witchblade, I've never really read these universes, but got me into the universe a lot. And then I love her explanations of things, like who she is as a person. And then, I love that scene where, most people will be like, oh, I'm heroic in nature, of course that's why I'm going to save my brother. But she's like, I'm not heroic in nature, this is not what I should be doing. And then when she puts on the Witchblade, there's like the 5 stages of the Witchblade of like fear and then, acceptance in the end. And then she's connected to other people with the Witchblade. So I just thought it was a really fun book, and the artwork was really great for this book. And I love the surprises you get in between, like, not the love interest, but the old friend, like how he's connected to all this, and now his girlfriend's connected to all this. And I'm a sucker for high school stories, so that makes this book even better for me. But yeah, why I picked this is, first of all, it's double size, so you get a lot for your, a lot of bang for your buck. And it's just a book that really surprised me. It just kind of came out of left field, and I was like, whoa, I really enjoyed this book. So I'm going to give Switch issue 1 4.5 stars. I just had a lot of fun with it. Alright, so what is number 1? What is pick of the week? That is Miss Marvel issue 19. This book, oh my god, I love this book because, you know, this issue has nothing to do with action. Honestly, it has nothing to do with Miss Marvel. It has to do with Kamala. Because in the last issue, we don't skip a second, because last issue we see that Kamala's mom knows she's Miss Marvel. And Kamala's like, what? How does she know? I'm trying to keep the secret. And you see the, you know, great daughter-mother moment where she's like, I don't care that you're Miss Marvel, like, you're saving people, and that makes me happy, you know, I'm proud of you. Miss Marvel's fearful, you know, Kamala's fearful that her mother would judge her or not want her to do this, but she's positive about it. And also this book is about the end of the world, so you see a lot of people wanting to wrap up things. Like the popular girl, she's like, I'm sorry I made fun of you, is because I was intimidated by you. And you kind of learn that Kamala's like the popular girl in school in a lot of ways because everyone likes her, because she has this really upbeat personality, and that's why this girl was, you know, making fun of her, or, you know, I don't want to say making fun of her, but being like mean-spirited. She's like, I'm sorry. So it seems like now they're going to be friends, which really excites me because, again, the unlikely friends, I love that. And then even her best friends, like, you know, it feels like you've been keeping secrets and stuff, and so you get to see them, tie loose ends there. It's like, I'm sorry I've been distant, we have to work this out. And it actually seems like in the all-new, all-different Marvel preview that I think she'll end up telling the friend that she's Miss Marvel. Enough people know already. Now, the big moment in this issue, though, is Bruno. Because Bruno finally has the guts to say, hey, Kamala, I like you. And Ms. Marvel's finally not, you know, dealing with so many things. She realizes in the beginning of the issue, oh no, like, he's been trying to tell me this for such a long time and been blind. And she likes him too, like that. But they can't do anything about it. And she's like, oh, you know, I don't care what your family thinks. And she's like, no, it has nothing to do with that. It has to do with me being a hero and me having to concentrate on that. And I don't want to do anything wrong if I'm going out with you, not being able to spend time with you, you know, and I have to dedicate myself to being a hero, and that's when it ends. You don't really know what decision they kind of make. So yeah, I enjoyed that ending a lot, because, I mean, all 19 issues you've been waiting for this, been waiting for Bruno to say something, and then you see Kamala has the same feelings. So I really like that, and like I said, it's a very emotional issue, and just, like, tying a lot of great relationships together, and I can't wait to see how that works out in volume 2. So yeah, it's just a great issue, great emotional issue, and a great ending to an awesome volume of Miss Marvel. So that was my pick of the week. So hope you guys enjoyed. Let me know in the comments below what was your pick of the week, what was your worst pick of the week, and everything in between. And of course, I'll have Comic You Know episode next week. And this is Comic You Know and Comic Frontline. Don't forget to follow me on Twitter. Don't forget to like my Facebook page. Also, description below, there's links from my comic book, like Father Like Daughter. And don't forget to like the Facebook page of Like Father Like Daughter. I'll see you guys later.